You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focused on the pain, the only thing that's real. Yeah, I watched the 2015 Fantastic Four. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about something good first, and then we'll talk about the train wreck. I got to play my first ever game of Warhammer last night. Some of you who have been following know that I've been building figures and putting together an army. And I finally actually got to play last night. And that was a good 4 hours out of my life. But I gave JD some pictures. I don't know if he was able to grab them. I gave him kind of late. But so yeah, had fun playing against my nephew.
Hold, please.
Hold, please. My Grey Knight's army up against his Astra Militarum. It really is a fun game, but it's a lot to it. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's like playing chess with super details where it's like, well, this guy does this, this, and this, so I've got to do this, and I got to roll this many dice. And, there's a point where, my nephew's grabbing 16 dice to roll at once because that's how many attacks. Yeah, so there's the board set up. As you can see, that's my Dread Knight looming over his little Astra Militarum guy. The four squares on there, you see the little tan-colored squares. Those are wheat thins. We're using those as object markers because we didn't actually have any. But it was a fun game. So he had the little terrain and everything. That's how many of the units I started with. Only one of those 5 guys in the front survived. But I consider I won. He considers he won. But, he'll just have to accept that he's wrong. So, but yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that I am continuing with the Warhammer thing. That was fun last night. Rewatching Fantastic Four, though. And the reason is, I hadn't planned to redo the other Fantastic Four, but Matt Idelson, former Marvel editor, now currently at Dynamite, posted on social media that today is the anniversary day that Fantastic Four #1 came out. So since I did Fantastic Four yesterday, I thought, all right, we'll take a look at the 2015 movie. That's going to leave nightmares. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are going to talk about, like I said, the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. We're going to cover a bunch of news, kind of some odd news because it's an odd news day. But let's start with the slab giveaway. We're not going to give it away right now, but this is the code you need. Hashtag, Octothorpe, whatever you want to call that little tag. EXP2K, make sure it's all capitals. It needs to be just like that for you to enter. Put that in the chat and we'll be good to go. Hello to Triple B, to Mr. Easy Go Lucky, to Clayton, Ragman, Ed, Cool, and I think that's everybody. By the way, we have 2 winners in here from yesterday. Both Ed and Clayton won. So that is awesome. Congrats to both of you. Some pretty cool ass books too. So we'll have to see what we're giving away today and who gets it. All right, let's go ahead and we'll roll into some news. We're going to start with some. We're going to start with some Disney news. This is business side news, but it's always kind of interesting to see how that's working. Disney saw direct-to-consumer losses shrink, and adjusted EPS top estimates for the 3 months that just ended in June. As CEO Bob Iger said, the company's on track to exceed $5.5 billion in anticipated cost savings. But when you're not paying your writers or your actors, you're going to save some money. Now, the total revenue is at $22.3 billion, which is down about 2%, just shy of the actual forecast. Linear television was softer, a trend Iger called out in the controversial CNBC interview last month. There was a jump in park and experiences. About a third of Disney's sales actually comes from there. Now, this was driven by the international parks and the cruise lines. Domestic parks saw a profit fall because of lower attendance at Walt Disney World, thanks to your governor down there in Florida seems to be causing a lot of issues. So, Disney Plus had 146.1 million total global paid subscribers at the end of June. Now that was down from last year in the quarter, but that's excluding Disney Plus Hotstar and core Disney Plus subs. The core Disney Plus subs rose to 105.7 million. That's up about 8 million from previous quarter. Now, the hit they expected from the Hotstar was expected as Disney declined to renew its rights to the hugely popular IPL cricket programming starting in 2023. So they got rid of cricket and lost some subscribers. Makes sense. Let's see, where was I? ESPN subs were about flat. Hulu's subs were up about 0.3 million. And live TV was 4.3 million. So overall, they did pretty well. Iger was said to say, our results this quarter are reflective of what we accomplished through the unprecedented transformation we're undertaking at Disney to restructure the company, improve efficiencies, and restore creativity to the center of our business. In the 8 months since my return, these important changes are creating a more cost-effective, coordinated, and streamlined approach to our operations that has put us on track to exceed our initial goal of $5.5 billion in savings, as well as improved our direct-to-consumer operating income by roughly $1 billion in just 3 quarters. When he says streamlined, he means that he pretty much went in and undid everything that Bob Chapek had done. Now, while there is still more to do, he says, I'm incredibly confident in Disney's long-term trajectory. Because of the work we've done, the team will now have in place, and because of Disney's core foundation of creative excellence and popular brand and franchises. That's great, but you still need to pay your writers and your artists. And your special effects artists, because the special effects artists are now trying to form a union, so the Marvel ones specifically. All right, let's move on to something a little more fun. I don't know if there's any sports fans out there, and this is barely sports. But Aaron Rodgers got transferred or traded to the New York Jets during the summer, and they got picked to be on Hard Knocks, which is the HBO series that follows a training camp of one of the pro football teams. Being with Aaron Rodgers there now, they got chosen. Well, it turns out Liev Schreiber made a surprise appearance on the season premiere of Hard Knocks training camp with the New York Jets. Now, dropping in on Aaron Rodgers via the helicopter. Rodgers had been vocal about not being thrilled about doing Hard Knocks, but said that the only thing that he liked about the show was the voice of God who narrates, and he hoped to meet him. Well, of course, the voice of God for that series, or the narrator, is Liev Schreiber. So he said, I wanted to drive, but the producers thought a helicopter might be more dramatic. I should have ironed my shirt. This was the narration that Schreiber was doing as he landed on the field and went out to talk to Rodgers. And Rodgers finally got to meet him. He's told him that he's always been a fan, and it was great to see him. And Schreiber responded that the quarterback had made a lot of New Yorkers happy, and it's fun to watch him play. Then Schreiber asked him a very good question, which is, how come nobody wants to do this show? And Rodgers, who was one of the ones who didn't want to do the show, said, I think people are worried about it being a distraction. There's a lot of misnomers about it. I've had a great experience. So now Rodgers told Schreiber that he's amazing, to which his voiceover work is amazing, to which the actor said he doesn't do anything and was just ripping off John Facenda, the original voice of NFL films. And if you've ever heard John Facenda, you know exactly what he's talking about. The guy was an amazing narrator. All right, let's move over here to, you notice how in Loki season 2, there's that image of Sylvie in what looks to be a 1970s style McDonald's uniform. And I've actually talked with a couple of people, and we're all like, that looks like a real McDonald's uniform with her standing in a real McDonald's. I wonder if McDonald's has got any connection to this. Well, it turns out they're at least on board with what's happening. The restaurant chain took to social media with an actual clip from the show that shows a somewhat shy Loki, Tom Hiddleston, of course, walking into the restaurant, and Sophia Di Martino recognizing him right away. It's just a quick little scene. It's like a meet cute from a romantic comedy where the guy walks in, he's kind of unsure of himself, and she looks up. So yeah, they posted that, and then they posted a picture of their sign. It didn't have the word McDonald's on it, but where it usually says like over 1 billion served, whatever, it now says infinite variants served. So McDonald's is definitely on board with whatever's going on with Loki. So, okay, let's switch over here to anybody pick up Fire and Ice last week? The first issue came out. Of course, it's based on the 1985, 83 animated series from Ralph Bakshi and Frank Frazetta. Well, along with doing the comic, Dynamite has something else. And this is, they put out this notice and said, we've got something really exciting right around the corner. We've collaborated with the families of legendary creators Frank Frazetta and Ralph Bakshi, alongside top designers on a tabletop game featuring the world and characters of Fire and Ice. The thrilling film classic debuted 40 years ago. So yeah, I guess it was 83. And we're not only celebrating with a just launched critically acclaimed comic series, but this awesome game too. The game is packed with a bunch of highly detailed miniatures, custom dice, cards, playboards, and more. Plus, we have an exclusive extra only available to backers within the first 5 days. And add-ons galore. You don't want to miss this. So sign up and get notifications when we launch the Kickstarter. So we have the link if JD wants to put that up. This is where you can click on and just get notifications from it. You don't have to commit to it now, but if you are a board game person, you might see on the shelf behind me some of the other board games that Dynamite and the companies they work with have put out, and they've been pretty damn good. So if you are a Fire and Ice fan, this may be one to check out. So make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Mainly just people putting them. Yep, definitely make sure you put in that hashtag or tag. Yeah. All right. We've got one more story here. This comes from Marvel, the comic book side, because every once in a while I like to tell comic book news. And it's a character I'm a big fan of. So, Octothorpe, yes. This November, Jessica Drew has a new mission, and this time it's personal. That is so cliche. Announced last month at San Diego Comic-Con, Spider-Woman is a new ongoing series that spins directly out of Gang War, the upcoming crossover that sees war erupt between New York City's deadliest crime lords. Written by Steve Fox from X-Men Annual and Dark X-Men, and drawn by rising star Carola Borelli, Jessica Drew will strike out in a brand new direction as she's tasked by Spider-Man to take down some of her most bitter foes. But something has made Jessica angrier than ever, and her ruthless crime fighting will shock her fellow heroes during and beyond the events of Gang War. As she tries to solve the heartbreaking mystery that upends her entire world, Spider-Woman will come face to face with a terrifying new force. One of the things I hate most about working in comics is having to write solicitation text, because they all sound like that. They all sound like, an AI generated sales speak, certain buzzwords and stuff. But boiling that down, it does sound interesting to me. We got some quotes from Steve Fox himself. Well, it says, there's going to be a preview. Fans can discover more about what kicks off Jessica's dramatic new journey in a special preview in tomorrow or today's Amazing Spider-Man number 31. And Fox, who's going to be writing it, says, I guess we know what the Fox says. Jessica Drew has been my favorite Marvel heroine since I was a kid. From the instantly classic costume to her complex backstory, there's just so much to her. She's a spy, a street-smart detective, a superheroic best friend, an Avenger, a Spider-Verse hopper, a mother, a survivor. The events of Gang War ended up being the perfect springboard for a story that embraces what Zeb Wells and company are doing in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, while also telling a distinctly Spider-Woman saga, with lasting ramification for some of her closest relationships in her own book. Few characters have ever been through hell like Jessica Drew has, and I'm so excited to throw even more at her. For those of you who don't know, the reason Marvel made Spider-Woman and She-Hulk was not because in the 70s they wanted to suddenly be diverse. They did it because they didn't want the TV studios and stuff to get, to do it without them and end up owning the character. So if the Incredible Hulk TV series suddenly decided to do a female Hulk in their series, they would end up owning it. And the same with Spider-Man. So that's why they put out those books. So just thought you guys want to know that. So, all right, let's go ahead. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, it's time to talk about the FF 2015. Be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rocket Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales. There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below.
The Experience celebrates 2,000 subscriptions with 20, that's right, 20 CGC slab giveaways. A slabbed book giveaway on every show all week long. As a thank you from The Experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Please make sure you put the tag into chat exactly as it is so you get a chance to win at the end of the show. And please hit the like and subscribe buttons. They're down here. And remember to stick around. We got a full lineup tonight. We've got Comic Collectibles with Rex and John. We've got Talk and Treat Trivia with Travis B. Hill from the Advent comic book Thorn. Then we have 360 Comics. And then we'll be ending the night with Henri, who's going to be doing FOMO auctions, which of course is the fear of missing out. Hello, Phil. Good to see you. Hey, Mark. Good to see you. Marcus. Nice to see you guys here. Before we jump back into it, though, because I just want to delay a little bit to get before the pain of this movie. You saw JD and I talking about the Octothorpe. And some of you, I may have told this story before. Those who don't know what the Octothorpe is the hashtag or the pound sign, depending on how old you are, has an actual name. And it's Octothorpe. It was named by the creator of the symbol. The symbol was created by the Bell Telephone Company when they were moving from dial phones to, was it push buttons? I think that's when it happened. But they needed this symbol. They created it. And the gentleman who created it named it. And he named it the Octothorpe for two things. One, because there's 8 points on it. So that's octa. And Thorpe, because Jim Thorpe had just won gold at the Olympics. So hashtag pound sign Octothorpe. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. All right, so let's get into I want to say that I can usually find something good in most movies. And I say most. There are movies that I despise. I am not a fan of The Piano. Just could not, just the ending. It would have been just a movie I didn't like until the ending of it. I went to the theater and saw the 2015 Josh Trank Fantastic Four film. And it wasn't good then. I rewatched it today, just before this show. so that it was fresh in my head and I could talk about it. And it is a big steaming pile of excrement. I want to say something nice about it. I really do. But I promise you, the best thing that came out of this movie was the fact that 2 years later, two of the co-stars, Jamie Bell and Kate Mara, got married. So the film as a thing for them to meet and grow, live happily ever after, wonderful. Other than that, this is a steaming pile of excrement. The cast it's filled with really good actors. We've seen Miles Teller in, I can't remember the name of the drumming movie, but he was just in Top Gun and Swing or whatever it is with, now I'm not remembering anything, J. Jonah Jameson's character or actor. But we saw him in the drumming movie. We saw him in Top Gun Maverick. He's a good actor. Kate Mara is a good actress. Seen her in tons of things. Tony Kebbell, Jamie Bell, all of these people, Tim Blake Nelson, Reg E. Cathy, these are all really good actors. They even had Dan Castellaneta, Homer Simpson. They had a good cast. What they had was a train wreck of a film. And I think a lot of it has to do with they didn't know what they were trying to make. J.K. Simmons, thank you. Whiplash, that's it. Okay. So yeah, Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons are great in Whiplash. I don't understand what happened here. But to give you a scope of how bad this movie is, I did a little research. This was the first Marvel movie that Stan Lee declined to make a cameo in. Stan appeared in the Incredible Hulk TV show. He appeared in Kevin Smith's Mallrats. Okay? Stan Lee loves doing cameos. He declined this one. Kate Mara noted that she hadn't seen the film a month after its release and had been very unwilling to watch it due to the intensely negative reception. After the disappointing reviews, Josh Trank, the director and Kamikaze pilot, went on to tweet that he'll never work on a comic book movie again. I don't think that's his choice. Marvel wasn't fond of the direction of the film and actually lampooned it a bit in the pages of The Punisher number 12, where this large explosion blasts a movie poster of this movie off of a wall. So what happened? Where did this go wrong? Trank had done Chronicle. He had done a lot of good movies, but they were small budget movies. J.D.R. Smith says, the movie stinks, part studio, I'm sure, but the script was a bunk to begin with. No, I agree. Lots of reshoots with Simon Kinberg. And a lot of editing. During the production of the film, Trank was known for being erratic and very isolated. And this led to clashes between Trank and the producers over the direction of the film. And because Trank never really offered a clear direction for it. Joseph Hazelwood, I will never captain another oil tanker again. Yep. Ed says, I struggle to call it a movie. Yeah. Now, Trank finished the movie in 2014, and the studio was unhappy with it. They demanded reshoots, and you can tell when the reshoots happen in the movie because Miles Teller's facial hair kind of comes in and out, and Kate Mara actually had cut her hair and is wearing a wig. So when her hair completely changes, you know that's the reshoots. But yeah, there was a lot of creative differences. Trank's final version was 2 hours and 20 minutes. After the studio got done with it, it was 1 hour and 40 minutes. And from what I understand, they cut 3 different action scenes, including some that we saw in the trailer. There is an action scene that shows the Thing basically cannonballing down into a war zone, which looked awesome in the trailer. It's never in the film. It's completely removed. Other than the little clip we see on the TV, we don't see the Thing fighting at all. JD says, if there was ever a movie that should have gotten the Batgirl treatment, yeah, this was just a train wreck. And they did stupid things with it too. Just the Thing himself didn't look like the Thing. I get that, and so you make your own version. But he didn't wear pants, which was just weird. But they also gave him 5 fingers. And in the comics, I don't know which fingers it is, but the Thing only has 3 regular fingers and a thumb. He's 4-fingered. So they didn't even bother that. But there was a point that Kate Mara asked Trank which comics she should read to get a feel for the character. And his response was, don't bother. This is a completely original story. Now, I get wanting to tell an original story, but you're telling original stories with existing characters. If I go in and try and write a script for a James Bond movie, I better have at least watched or read James Bond. I better know what the character is instead of somebody going, he's a British secret agent. And then I come out with something completely different. And that's kind of what it feels like here, is that Josh Trank saw the 1970s Fantastic Four lunch pail and said, oh, a guy on fire, somebody who can stretch, she can turn invisible, big rock guy. Love it. Let's make a movie. And didn't read anything. There is 0 family aspect in this. They decided to bring Franklin Richards in, Sue and Johnny's dad, who is a great actor, is probably one of the best things in the movie, but it just, again, completely out of place. Has nothing to do with the versions we get in the comics. Mark says, this train wreck of a movie saved Watchmen from being worst superhero movie, but also Zack Snyder's more liberty to do poo-poo movies. Yeah. I preferred the Corman movie. Yeah, of the 2, the Corman one at least tried to be the Fantastic Four, even though they know it was never going to get released. But there's a reason this movie happened. It's more than just they wanted to put out a movie. The characters in this film would have reverted back to Marvel if the film was delayed beyond 2015. So if they had said, okay, this is an utter pile of shite and we can't put it out, so just put it away. they would have lost the Fantastic Four altogether because of the deal. They had a 7-year window to produce a new film. They had done the last one in 2017 or in 2007. That means by 2014, they had to be making a new movie, and it had to come out within like a year of that. So Daniel says, I stand by Watchmen, hoping the best for the new animated. I didn't hate the Watchmen movie. I actually liked a lot of it. But so this movie was just like the Roger Corman one in a lot of ways, save the rights. But Marvel tried to help. Marvel went to Fox and offered them an extension on, they kind of helped in a different way. They went to Fox and said, look, you want to reboot Daredevil. We'll give you an extension on rebooting Daredevil if you give us back the Fantastic Four, along with all the associated characters like Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Watcher, Annihilus, the Skrulls, and the Badoon, etc. Or at least the cosmic characters, and Fox refused. So they lost the rights to Daredevil first. They tried to save the Fantastic Four with this movie, and then they lost them too when they got bought out. So a lot of stuff went in behind the scenes on this, and is the reason why this is a bad movie. But there's a lot more to it in the story itself. This feels like Josh Trank just decided to do a movie that was somewhere between sci-fi and horror. He had no understanding of the characters or what makes them work, why they've been around for 60 some odd years, 60? Yeah, 60 some odd years, why they've been popular all that long. And by not reading the comics, you can see what it is. There is no family dynamic. There is no, the relationship between Sue and Reed is just a tiny, tiny part of the movie. And again, like yesterday, they felt it necessarily to shoehorn to Doctor Doom's origin in with the Fantastic Four. They sent them off to another planet instead of being astronauts. They're dimensional explorers or something. Clayton says, I'm over here in my padded cell, loving the Miles Teller version all alone. I got to tell you, Clayton, you probably are alone. And if you can find joy from this movie, more power to you. I hope you enjoy it. I really do. Ed says there's no chemistry with any of them in the movie. It may be as well four strangers. Exactly. You know, Johnny and Sue don't seem to have any kind of connection. Reed and Ben, I mean, Ben's a lifer. Ben is Reed's buddy for life, and that gets thrown out. And there's that insane 1-year time jump. It's like, it sounds like all the interesting stuff happened in that 1 year. Ben going on missions and Reed trying to stay away from people, you know, trying to on the lam. That stuff sounds interesting, and we gloss over it with a 1 year later. We only see Ben really fighting in a video screen and then the 2 or 3 hits he has on Doctor Doom. That's crazy. You know, I mean, we get more action out of Johnny flying around shooting drones. And they went to the big light in the sky thing, or the enemy that everybody was doing in the 2010s. There's just so much bad about the movie. And there seemed to be moments that were supposed to be funny, but they didn't come across that way. They they just didn't come across that way. They were very negative, So, yeah, it's a train wreck of a movie. Clayton says, I understand all the hate on it, but I watch it as a sci-fi movie, not a Fantastic Four movie, Marvel movie. I thought about that. You make a great point there, Clayton. If you take out the fact that it's the Fantastic Four, if you look at it as a sci-fi movie, and you give them, even if you don't connect the names and stuff, if somebody who'd never heard of the Fantastic Four saw this movie, there is a possibility they might like some of it. I still don't think it's a good movie on its own, but it's definitely not a good Fantastic Four movie. I'm thinking just there's, it's played more as a horror movie. Dr. Doom doesn't seem like Dr. Doom at all. And why do they keep giving him these electrical powers all of a sudden? Maybe what Josh Trank did was he watched the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four and then decided to make a horror movie based on those characters. That almost makes sense. Because a copy of a copy of a copy, because he didn't get the actual tone and feel of the Fantastic Four. So, NWO for life. Josh Trank never had a good perspective on anything. Yeah, it's a train wreck. I'm sorry, Clayton. I want to reach out. I want to connect with you on this and say that there's some good things in there. Franklin is amazing. I think he comes across great. There is some neat moments, but they're not neat moments for the Fantastic Four. There is so little of the Fantastic Four in that movie. I mean, their names are about it. So, yeah. Look, I got to do something real quick. Let me take my last break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more, and then we'll give away the book. So we'll be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds, a promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page, there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
The experience celebrates 2,000 subscriptions with 20, that's right, 20 CGC slab giveaways. A slabbed book giveaway on every show all week long as a thank you from the experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Please make sure you get that hashtag or tag into the chat exactly as it is on the screen so that you get a chance to win. We'll be announcing what the book is and doing the drawing in just a couple minutes. You're right, Trank has only done one film since then. It was 5 years later in 2020. He wrote and directed Capone, and then he's supposed to be writing The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, whenever that's going to happen. But yeah, this pretty much killed his career. So any forward momentum he had, it's just not happening. I keep thinking about what Clayton said about thinking about it as a different movie. And I would love to see, I would sit and watch this. I would love to see the version that Trank completed, the 2 hour and 20-minute version that the studio deemed too violent. Because that may be a good movie. It is possible that that's a good movie, but we're never going to see it. They're not going to put it out. This is not like a Zack Snyder Justice League thing. I don't think there's a big enough fan base calling to see the Josh Trank cut of Fantastic Four. But I would be curious to see it, just to see how much of the changes affected the movie and how much what he had in there made it better. Because it is really choppy. There's odd cuts. They're not even a team until the very end of the movie. Clayton says he would pay to see that version. Yeah, but I think the 1 year jump is where they really lost me, because I was really trying to help. I was, kind of meeting them halfway on it being a good movie. And yeah, then it just, the 1 year jump was just so bad. So. Triple B says, everyone here, please hit the little like button, and I would appreciate that very much. So, the more they get up there, the better. Restore the Trank verse. Jay, I'll give you $10 if you get that trending. I'd give you more, but I'm a little short on cash right now. So yeah, it was. Like I said, it was an attempt to grab the rights. I think they probably would have killed the film if they had more time, because it's not a Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, the jump didn't make sense. The only thing I could think of is that they brought them back. Okay, in the comics, they crash land. Their powers suddenly happen, and they get pretty good control over them almost instantly, which I'm thinking is a bit unrealistic. So I think part of what Josh Trank wanted to do was to make it as realistic as possible, and that you're not going to have full control over these abilities. You're not even going to know how to use them, so that it takes time to master them, to learn how to stretch different parts of your body and control it and pull it back, or how to control your flames or make bubbles of invisibility and stuff, or even to move as a giant rock creature. So I could see where the 1 year jump was to kind of explain, okay, in that time they learned how to do what they do. But that's the only reason that I think it was in there. And if you're going to take the time to have them have to learn it, then show it to us. Josh Trank said Fox destroyed a good film. Yeah, he's been pretty adamant about being happy with the version he turned in and considering what Fox did disastrous. And at least what is on, this is on Disney Plus, by the way. If for some reason you haven't seen it and you're one of those people who, if I said, here, try this, it's horrible, and you take a bite, if you're that kind of person, Fantastic Four is on Disney Plus. You can watch it. He didn't destroy a hotel room. What it is he rented a house while he was filming, and he had dogs, and his dogs tore up the rental house to the tune of about $100,000. But close, JD says he can safely say that to save face knowing no one will ever see it. Yeah. It's kind of like David Ayers right now talking about how great his Suicide Squad is that before the studio cut it. So, if I ever made a movie and it came out and people hated it, I would talk about a director's cut too, whether there is one or not. Studio did that. That's their fault. I made a great movie. My script was, and they just crapped all over it. I've used the word crap or a variation of it a lot today, which just kind of goes with the topic. Yeah. I'm going to try to heal my soul tonight by watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and we will talk about it tomorrow. Mary says, I rarely have not seen it in its entirety, but want to for posterity. Okay. Yeah, Disney Plus. Mary, yeah. For those who weren't here, I started the show by singing Hurt, the Johnny Cash version of Hurt, because that's how I felt after watching that show. Yeah. So, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to do the raffle. So last chance, everybody who has not, if you can't win twice. So if you have not won, please put that code in the chat now if you haven't already. Jay says, not sure it'll heal your soul, Dan, but it's an excellent movie. Mary says, we watched Guardians 3 last night. It holds up on second viewing. It will heal you. Yep. So I will be watching it tonight or playing Warhammer again and watching in the morning, one of the two. But, all right. Mr. JD, roll it. Let's see who wins. Daniel Aslan, congratulations. Now, JD, tell him what he's won. It's Red Sonja, Age of Chaos, number 5. That is a Lucio Perillo cover, I believe. And there's going to be a link put in, Daniel, there's going to be a link put into chat. JD will be doing that. There it is. Register there within 24 hours to secure your slab, and then they will mail it out to you. So congratulations, Daniel. And by the way, good choice of names. Your parents did well picking your name. And if you're younger than me, then your parents named you after me. It's just the way it works. So, all right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up there. Remember, we've got Comic Collectibles starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. We have Talk and Treat Trivia starting at 8. We have 360 Comics at 9. These times are Eastern. And at 10 o'clock, we have Kicking It with Henri and all of them will be giving away slabs too. So thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And thank you all for tuning in. Please come back tomorrow and tell your friends about the place. We always try to have fun, and it's a conversation we want you all to join in. So have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.
The experience celebrates 2,000 subscriptions with 20, that's right, 20 CGC slab giveaways. A slab book giveaway